One of the new alternative securities exchanges, For Africa Exchange, also known as 4AX, will be renamed Cape Town Stock Exchange at the end of September. The exchange, which received its license to list both equity and debt instruments in August 2016 and began operating in March 2017, is relocating to new offices in Woodstock. For more, we're joined by CEO Eugene Booysen. Eugene, thank you so much for your time. Perhaps you can take us through the rationale behind this decision.
Hi, Nastasia. Thank you for hosting us. Yeah, very clearly for us is a brand differentiation strategy. When all the alternative stock exchanges launched, everyone got infatuated with the X. We had 4AX, we had A2X, we had ZARX, and we had Equity Express, and the JSE had AltX. I'm not surprised there was a brand confusion between custodians, between banks, between investors, between potential issuers. We think partnering with the Mother City and partnering with Cape Town, we remove any of that confusion. We did some heuristic research and looked around, and out of all the exchanges listed globally on the World Federation of Exchanges, there were only 4 that didn't have the name of the city or the country in it, and we think this clears up any of the ambiguity.
Who would you be targeting?
So we've got a very specific target criteria we're looking for. We built the exchange up on a purely digital basis, and as a result of that, we can save quite a significant amount of money in terms of cost, risk, time, and complexity. So our target market is equity listings in 100 million to 2 billion market range. And the reason we can target that is we're able to not just efficiently do the listing on their behalf, but also manage them in the post-listing process around their governance, around their disclosures, around their management of shareholders, all the way through to virtual AGMs, e-voting, proxy solicitation. That significantly reduces the cost of any listing, not just primary, but even on the ongoing costs.
What has been your assessment of investors or even companies' appetite to raise capital via debt or equity?
So I think it's one of those. I think there's always going to be the demand for it. I think the real problem has been the crowding out of private money in terms of public markets. So we've seen central banks globally stimulating increases in underlying money supply. I think a lot of that's flown to private markets, and private markets has been funding on the deals. But I think post-COVID has left us with some stresses on balance sheets, has left us with some stresses in terms of how we get our debt to equity ratios right. And I also think it's created opportunities for companies in this segment. We think this segment is the growth sector of the economy. This is the sector that's looking to grow our jobs, increase employment. This is the sector spending on innovation. This is the sector spending on skills development. This is the sector spending on production. We think the investor demand for growth companies is there. I think this is precisely what they're looking for, growth sector in the underlying economy. And they are looking to make specific SA investments, not investments in companies that have large degree of their revenue offshore or located elsewhere.
What does your pipeline of listings look like over the next, say, 6 months or so?
So thanks for that question. And we do our first new listing on the 30th of September. That's TWK announced their transfer of their listing. And then we got a further 3 equity listings that will close before February next year. Our debt pipeline looking even greater. We expect to do our first debt listing the first week in October, and we'll follow that up with several new listings for the balance of the year. So the pipeline looking really healthy as we come out of post-COVID. We're very deliberate about trying to launch 30th of September. It's spring. We're going into summer. Hopefully the mood's improving. And we want to capitalize on that with our new listings.
So you mentioned in the beginning that the name change and, of course, relocation will set you apart from the others. Do you find that people are more willing now to look at the smaller players as opposed to, the big player that we've known for a number of years now?
So I think that's been a trend that people have maybe missed over the last 3 years. So not just ourselves, but if we look at all the smaller exchanges, they've had a steady trajectory of increases in their underlying listings. I think that's pretty deceptive at the start, but all of them have net positive listings each year. And even for ourselves, last year, in spite of COVID, we still added 4 new counters to the platform. So I think the growth is there. I think people are looking to work with other partners. I think all of us have carved out niches related to our marketplace. And I think now having the brand to anchor that on just puts us in a position for growth.
Eugene, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is Eugene Booysen, who is the CEO of 4AX, announcing the news that they will be relocating to Cape Town with offices in Woodstock and a planned listing at the beginning of the month.